Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1984. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in beautiful Monterey, California. Gosh, that's a place I've been to so many times for Car Week. A lot of car people down there. And today I'm speaking with a very special guest by the name of Roman Barnes. Roman, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Hi, Mark. I am ready to go.
I know. We're going to have some fun today. Now, before I give you a proper introduction, what's one little thing that most people may not know about you, Roman?
Let's see. I guess maybe I'm a lifelong skateboarder. I used to be a competitive skateboarder in my teen years.
Really?
But I still do it now. And I'm also a lifelong skateboard collector, which I'm a little better at collecting now than I am the actual act of skateboarding. But I've been doing both of those things for, well, about 40 years now.
No kidding. You know, you and I have a lot in common then, because I grew up in Southern California. I skateboarded from the time that they were roller derbies with the metal wheels.
I have a roller derby.
I've got my original one. At one point I crashed so bad and smashed my face. My mom said she threw it away, but I found it in her closet when I think I was snooping for Christmas presents or something. Don't tell my mom that. But yeah, I still have a few. You know, I have an old the roller derby Mustang. You know, model. I've got a cool board that BMW created. Have you ever seen that BMW skateboard they made?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I'll send you pictures. It's crazy. It's got the most intricate truck design. The way the wheels actuate separately from each other. It's absolutely crazy.
Wow.
But I've kind of learned at this point in time, maybe I should stay off of skateboards. You know, you fall down these days, you know, I won't say I'm older, but I say I am a little more mature. It hurts a lot more.
Believe me, I know the feeling. I used to go and skate all day, every day, and you fall down and dust yourself off and keep going. And now when I go to the skate park and I take a spill, I dust myself off and I go home for about a month and
ice yourself
heal up,
and
then maybe go try it again. So I know what you're talking about.
You know, they opened the first skate park in San Diego when I was in, I think I was in college maybe. My neighbor across the street, young guy, he and his buddies opened a skate park down under the freeway, Highway 8 in Mission Valley. It was one of the first skate parks to ever emerge. And we used to go down there and I thought, man, this is like the coolest thing ever. It's long gone, but they have some skate parks around here that the city puts together and manages. So the kids have a lot more fun these days than me trying to go down the street and hitting a crack in the curb and going down on my chin.
Yeah. It's I came from the dark ages of the 80s where there were no skate parks left. They had all closed due to insurance reasons mostly. And so we had to make our own fun. We built a lot of ramps and did a lot of street skating. And now, you know, here goes my old man moment. Kids these days, you know, they have all these great skate parks and they're so lucky. But I get to benefit from that too. And I go out on the weekends and, you know, do the little bit that I can still do, but it's still just as fun as it was, you know, back then.
You brought back a crazy memory. I went to La Jolla High School, and the canyon across the road, Muirlands Drive, there was this grate. It was kind of hidden away, and we figured out if we could get in there, it was an underground water, like I don't want to say sewer system, it was for water flow.
Sure.
And it went downhill because La Jolla High and Muirlands Junior High was up on a hill, all the way down to Windansea Beach. And there was one spot where you had to stop. We would get on those flexi flyers on our bellies and put flashlights on the front of them. And there was one place where you had to stop because if you didn't, you went into this, and my wife's a civil engineer. She could tell me the name of it. It's a big square thing where a bunch of them converge, and it's a silt collector. So silt goes to the bottom, but water can still flow through. And we marked it with neon paint so that as we were coming up, we knew when to stop, because if you didn't stop, You could hurt yourself, but you would come flying down that thing, and then you'd end up right going into the sand on the beach at Wind and Sea Beach, and people would be sitting under their blankets, and they'd hear these noises coming out of this big sewer drain, your water drain, and we just come flying out into the sand.
Spit a bunch of kids out. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And then I think somebody, some mother probably said, you guys are going to die, and reported it, and they put a big metal grate over the top. We couldn't get in there anymore. So,
that's too bad.
Yeah, but you brought back some of my youth. Nice memories. Thank you, Roman. That was fun.
Yeah, you bet.
Let me give you a proper introduction. We're going to talk cars today versus skateboards, but there's some correlation there. Roman Barnes is the owner of Empire Vintage Autos in Monterey, California, a business centered around the detailing, cosmetic, preservation, and restoration of beautiful collector cars. He is also a consultant, provides collection management and consignment sales of all types of specialty automobiles. Roman has over 30 years in the automotive reconditioning world, and we heard the skateboard world too. And he has worked on nearly every type of collector car, from the Model T to Bugattis and everything in between. Over the decades, his projects have ranged from rescuing dusty, long-forgotten garage finds to preparing some of the world's rarest cars for the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. When not in the shop, you can find him tinkering on his own cars, putting on various events for the automotive community around the Monterey Peninsula and his groups Del Monte Auto Club and Peninsula Cars and Coffee. We'll be back in just a minute, but let's give a thanks to our sponsors. They're the ones that make this show possible, so give them a little love. Better yet, give them a little business. And we'll be right back. Covercraft's newest 3-layer all-climate cover is especially engineered for moderate weather conditions, and it's treated with an extra UV-resistant formula. It's soft, it's breathable, and it's easy to store, all while pampering your paint, providing maximum UV, rain, and dust protection. If you live where it's windy, no worries. Simply add their gust guards for windy conditions to add extra protection to keep your cover in place. Your 3-layer all-climate cover is custom tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form and fit with the quality and attention to detail that's been their tradition since 1965. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected with a Covercraft cover. And I have a deal for you. Use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at covercraft.com, and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order plus free shipping. That's right. So get 10% off with free shipping by simply using the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. When it was time to renew my collector car policy, my carrier raised my rates by a lot. But why? My usage was the same, my car's value was the same, and I had never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. The only change was their rate, and they had no reason why. What's with that? I researched my options, I spoke to others, and with American Collectors Insurance is where I now have my policy. What a difference. A live person actually answers the phone. She spent time learning about me and my Porsche Turbo, the one I call my Orange Crush, and provided a reasonable quote. American Collectors Insurance now protects my special ride. I'm saving hundreds of dollars, and I can sleep at night knowing my baby is properly insured. Why wait until your next premium is due? Give them a call today for your personal agreed value quote. Call 866-AC1-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance, classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors, automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. So Roman, we're back. So let's talk about how you got into the industry here of cars. Empire Vintage Autos. Sounds like you're doing a lot of different things there, but you get to play with some very cool cars.
I do. I wear a lot of hats, but I do get to touch a lot of nice cars. There's a lot of collectors and collections in this area, the Monterey Peninsula, just motoring and motorsports around here. It's so incredible, what lies in these garages and airplane hangars and whatnot. A lot of neat stuff in this area. So I'm fortunate to be able to see and touch and work on some of them.
So let's talk about how you got into your business. What started this whole thing? And then where did you get to that point you went, you know what, this could be a career for me?
That's a good question. I don't know. It was just sort of a natural progression. It wasn't anything that was planned out for sure. I can tell you that. It was sort of I landed a job with a local collector in about, I guess it was 1990. And kind of went from there. I got to work on his cars and detail them and keep them maintained. And, it just kind of went from there. At one point, I sort of branched off on my own and didn't want to work for people directly. I decided, I'll have my own business and people can contract me to do what needs to be done. So, I don't know how to say it. It just kind of happened, I guess. My love of cars just kind of showed me the way.
Well, you do a variety of things for your clients. A lot of people that are detailers, and I had a detailing business for so many years and worked in the industry for a long time when I was at Griot's Garage developing a full line of car care products. So I got very intimate with car care and caring for vehicles. To this day, I still love keeping my cars clean. A little harder up here in the Northwest where it rains a lot. That's for sure. It's a bit of a challenge, but could you walk through all the different services you provide?
Well, I would say the bulk of it is detailing. I spend a lot of time in my shop and do a lot of larger, long-term detail projects. It's not to say that every project is that, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are trim off, bumpers off, complete rehabs. I really like doing preservation cars and original paint cars, which is a delicate dance sometimes, but I really like that challenge, and I think it's the most rewarding kind of car to do. So a lot of projects like that where a car will spend a couple of weeks in my shop, sometimes a month.
Wow.
Some shorter term stuff too, where it's just in and out in a week. Maybe a ceramic coating on a client's new car or something like that too. I mean, I kind of run the full gamut. But then on top of that, I have a couple collections that I look after. And so that encompasses, a little more than detailing, making sure the cars are exercised and ready to go. So when, the owner of said vehicles comes into town, everything's gassed up and clean and ready for them to go out and take a drive. So that's a big part of it. And I work with some other collection managers in the area too, and sort of just do the detailing part of working on their collections. That's the main part of it. I do some consignment. So a lot of cars on Bring a Trailer. My most recent one being a original owner 1965 356C.
Oh,
that I sold for an 87-year-old woman who bought it locally.
Oh my gosh!
And has owned it and driven it around the Monterey Peninsula all these years.
Wow!
And that was a really rewarding. I mean, I get to sell a lot of neat cars, but an original owner, fairly untouched. I mean, it was pretty well preserved. 356, there just can't be a lot of original owner 356s left out there. So
no, that's a unicorn.
Yeah, and she was such a neat lady. She really, the car was her baby, and she took really good care of it and drove it like it was a race car. Also, even up until the day she delivered it to my shop, came ripping in the parking lot. So it was a neat story. Yeah, sell a lot of cars on Bring a Trailer and some of the other platforms that are out there. And that's basically it. I do a little consulting and helping people find cars that they're looking for. They know that I'm just kind of tapped in with different folks and that I can help them maybe find what they need. So, between wearing all of those hats, I keep very busy, and I have a big waiting list of cars to come in the shop, and I feel very grateful about that. It's nice to have, work lined up and know that people want to come in and have me work on their stuff. So,
congratulations finding this niche in that area, because you're in the right area. You're in the prime.
Sure.
Well, since you do consignments and you work with people, buyers and sellers, I'd love to chat with you a little bit about that. Now, you and I had a great talk on the phone the other day about this, about what's going on in the collector car market right now. And it's a little bit crazy out there. I was toning in specifically on BMW, Porsche, because that's what I drive. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the marketplace right now and why you think some of this crazy buying frenzy is going on? Because some of the cars that are selling, I can see unicorns like that Porsche you talked about. I shared with you the Porsche I have, which is a pretty extremely rare car.
Yeah.
And even my E46 M3, those have gone through the dip of loss of value and then depreciation. And all of a sudden now they're flying up. In your perspective, since you're buying and selling cars, what is going on?
Boy, I don't know, but I'm sure loving this wave of what is going on.
Yeah.
Money seems to be exchanging hands at all levels, and people are maybe in these times, these uncertain times of pandemic and weirdness in the world, people are just wanting to spend their money on something fun and have an escape. And, having a specialty car or an old car that you can jump in and go out for a drive, that's a good escape for people. It is for me. And like I said, there just seems to be money changing hands at all levels. I mean, I don't know. A lot of cars I sell seem to go to maybe younger tech money guys that are getting interested in cars and maybe buying their first Porsche or, whatever it is. But things are moving, and they're moving at a high level, and good for all of us that have a car to sell or selling cars for people, because it's certainly keeping us busy. And the numbers, that are coming in are some really record numbers on a lot of cars. So.
Yeah, it's wild. Is there a driving inspiration in your life, a person that was a key mentor or a big influence on you that perhaps helped you with your career, helped form your career?
I don't know about anybody that directly helped form my career. So many people have helped me. It's really hard to single out anybody. I mean, because nobody gets to where they are on their own. I've had a lot of lucky breaks and people willing to take a chance on me, and a lot of good friends that are sort of in this industry and, the same or different branches of the collector car world. But if I had to pick somebody, I would pick my very first boss. His name was Bentley Brooks, and he owned a bicycle and skateboard shop. And I worked for him through middle school and high school. It was my first job, and I worked for him for about 5 years. He knew that I was a skateboard kid, and he thought, okay, well, we could use a little help in that department. And I think I started working for him when I was about 13. And by the time I was 14, he let me just run that whole section of the store. I got to do all the merchandising, all the selling,
wow,
the building of boards, all the ordering. He'd give me a limit, okay, well, if you have an order over $800, clear it with me first, that kind of thing. But he just let me go. And he just knew, I guess, over a period of time, I proved myself, and he knew that he could trust me. And for me, it was fun. that was my passion. And of course, I got to earn a little money and sell boards to all my friends. I was like the candy man at school. People would say, did you get the new such and such board? I'll come in after school. And, it was just a great job because I was doing what I loved. But what I didn't realize is the business and life experience that it was giving me along the way. And it was just a great experience. And the fact that, he trusted a 14-year-old kid with a big portion of his store, and just said, hey, go for it. And, I did him right and made money for the store and had a good time myself. I mean, listen, Mark, I really love what I do now, and I'm so lucky, but I kind of think that's the best job I'll ever have, was that job.
It's really nice when a person like that takes a young person in that shows initiative and hard work and does all the things you're supposed to do in business, like show up to work on time and be enthusiastic and passionate. I mean, you're very fortunate. Bentley Brooks, that was his name, you said?
Bentley Brooks, Capital Bicycles. Yeah.
What a name. Wow. And
I don't know where he is today, but maybe I need to look him up and shake his hand. Yeah.
Those are really important formulations of character and knowledge that, you're right, at the time. It's like when I was young, I had a paper route, and I had no idea that the things that route required me to do would prepare me for some of my other businesses later, my car detailing business and so forth, having to collect money every month, having to interface, having to be responsible. Because those folks, if their paper was not on their doorstep by 5, they were standing out there waiting for you,
Right.
All those things that those jobs teach young people. Let's take a short break and thank our sponsors. We come back. We'll talk a little bit about a challenge and maybe some advice you might offer people who want to get into a business like you're doing. So sit tight. We'll be right back. You listeners know I've been into car care my entire life. I am so excited to team up with AutoGeek in 2022. AutoGeek.net has been a leading source of auto detailing products, accessories, and expert knowledge for more than 20 years. What started in 1997 as a mail order catalog company has grown into a multi-website based e-commerce store that they are today. With a large online presence on its own website featuring close to 100 different brands, AutoGeek has grown to be the largest car care retailer in the country. AutoGeek's wholesale program serves accounts in over 30 countries, and its retail sector ships worldwide. Go to AutoGeek.net for the best product selection on the internet today and their stellar technical support. AutoGeek.net. It's where I go for all my detailing needs. That's AutoGeek.net. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. So we're back. So if somebody was, I would bet there's people listening right now that go, man, I want to do what Roman does. This sounds really cool. Obviously, there's a lot of work to it, but how would you advise a young person or even somebody who wants to change their careers midstream, get into the field that you're in?
Well, I would say, get involved in the car community is the first thing. Go to events and talk to owners. People are almost always approachable. Doesn't matter if they're driving a Toyota Corolla or a Ferrari 250 or something, Right. Most people are approachable and they want to talk about their cars. I just think having conversations with people and kind of maybe letting them know what you'd like. It seems like inevitably a break will come or something, a door will open that will let you get your foot in and get started. And I think from there, it's just a matter of it's hard work and doing a good job and knowing that people can trust you. And then it sort of just flows from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like construction. I always say if you're good at construction, you'll always have work because so many people in that field are not very diligent, let's just say.
Sure.
And so, and it's the same. And I would assume that time in that bicycle and skateboard shop taught you incredible communication skills, not only with your boss, but with the sellers when you were ordering things and with the clients so that you could sell. And you, like you said, you probably didn't even know you were learning those skills as you were doing them, but those are invaluable skills in the business you have.
Yeah, I have a funny story going back to the skateboard shop that I'll share. A little bit of a non sequitur, but one day a mother came in and was buying a board for her son's birthday, and I did the typical things. Well, you want the guards for the nose and tail, right? To protect it.
The upsells?
All the guards. Hey, you want to protect the board, put the copers on the trucks and all the things that, it'll protect this investment for little Johnny. And okay, well, boy, it's getting expensive. Well, yeah, I guess I should protect it. And then when that was all done, I said, now, what about pads? Do you want to get pads and a helmet? And she said, oh, boy. I've really spent a lot today. I don't know, how much is it? How much for the full set of pads? I said, well, a helmet is this and, knee pads are that and elbow pads are that much. And she said, oh boy, I might have to wait till next time. I don't know. And I said, well, yeah, it's kind of expensive, but it's cheaper than an X-ray.
I was waiting for that.
And then I just left it, pregnant pause, right? And she said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take them. And so I sold her the whole set, built the board for her, sold her the whole set of pads. And when that lady walked out the door, good old Bentley Brooks turned to me and said, that was brilliant. You're getting a raise today.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I don't know why that story just popped into my head, but
good job, Roman. Good job. Hey, let's talk about a challenge you faced either in life or in business. But the more important part of this story needs to be the lesson learned so you could come out of it in a positive way. So take us on maybe a little bumpy ride.
Mark, I was thinking about this question and I feel so lucky that I can't really pick out a big challenge. I was thinking about a job that I took on a couple of years ago that was a very daunting task and at the time potentially above my pay grade, but I had a client that really trusted me. We had a 300 SL Gullwing that needed a cosmetic refresh. And so I took on taking that car apart myself and, I sent it out to get painted and sent out all the plating and that's a project like that is definitely on the heavier side of what I do. I don't do too many that are quite like that. And, a car with some relative value. So a little bit scary and daunting to say the least. And there were a couple points in that project where I thought, oh boy, am I the right guy for this job? This is it's not a terribly complicated car, but one wrong move and it's curtains. It could cost you a lot of money to repair it, especially after the car comes back to me all freshly painted, perfectly done. And you're hanging all the bright work and trim and
one
everything.
Little tap on that paint.
And one little thing and it's over. So, that was a big challenge. And I pulled it off and the car came out great. I wasn't sure a few points during that process if that's how it was going to go, but it was just a roll up your sleeves and dig in and really have faith in yourself because the work is in front of you and it has to be done. It came out great.
What was the lesson learned when you looked back and went, whew?
Take a deep breath and a step back when you're about to jump into a task that could have some serious consequences if not done properly. And think about it. I really tried to get into the head of the people that built those cars and try to understand why they did things the way they did. And also, frankly, how things could be improved upon when going back together or dealing with reproduction parts that don't really fit. And okay, well, how am I going to make this look the way it should? And it was a big project for me. That's not something I do every day. But it was, I would say the moral of the story was take a step back and take a breath and look at it a few times before you pick up the tool and go, okay, we're going to go for it. I did that a lot. I did a lot of eating a sandwich and standing back and staring at the car and going, okay, how am I going to fit this piece of trim? I've only got one shot with these clips. And so I did a lot of that, just kind of meditating on it and staring at it. And then when I was ready to pick up that piece of trim, I had thought about it so much, it was go time. And it worked out. Car came out really good.
Well, I guess I did the right thing. My son worked one summer in a shop, and the first project they put him on was the Daytona Ferrari. And they said, okay, take the light buckets out and the bumpers out. And he came home that night and he said, Dad, they're having me work on a Daytona. I've never done any of this stuff. I'm afraid I'm going to wreck something. And I said the same thing. I said, well, first thing is stop and analyze, think about it. And if you have a question, ask a question,
Exactly.
And in this case, the guy, his supervisor said, well, just do it. You'll figure it out. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I was lucky to have I did have some experts on speed dial.
Nice.
And so when I got stuck, like I said, nobody does this alone. I was lucky to get connected with some experts and they'd say, well, you got to take this side off first and, do this bolt first or whatever. And so, when I got stuck, I had help or just, thought about it and analyzed it. And it came out great.
Yeah, it sounds great. What a great experience for you. And an experience that gave you a lot of confidence moving forward that, okay, if I tackle that, then I can tackle the next one and the next one and the next one.
Absolutely.
You keep learning as you go along. When we were chatting before we got on the show here, you shared a special vehicle story with me, and it's a Ghia. I told you about the Ghia I had in high school. Can you talk a little bit more about that car? Because it's a very unique vehicle.
It is. It's a 1973 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia TC touring coupe, made for the Brazilian market, not meant for export. They were made from 71 to 75, if I have that correct. Also designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, I believe as his last project for Studio Ghia before he started Ital Design. It's got a lot of Italian influence. If you stand back and blur your eyes, it looks a bit like a Fiat Dino coupe. It looks a bit like a BMW 3200, which I believe Giugiaro was involved with. But at the same time, he was also trying to make a sort of a Brazilian Porsche. So he did take cues from early, 911, 912. You can see that especially in the rear quarter windows. It's an interesting car, and it's also a kind of a VW parts bin car where it uses like earlier 60s Beetle door handles. And it was one of those things where I don't think that Volkswagen in Germany really cared that much about what VW of Brazil was doing. And it was kind of like, here's our extra parts and do whatever you want.
It had to raise some eyebrows when they first saw it, though.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought about it or how important it was to them, because it was just a whole separate market and they weren't going to be exported. But it's an interesting car. I found it just scrolling on the internet. I found out that they existed just scrolling on the internet about a year ago. And I thought, well, it kind of checks a lot of boxes. It's a pretty car. I like Volkswagens and Porsches, and I've had a handful, but it's rare. And that was the thing that appealed to me. I like a lot of rare cars, but they're not really within my budget. So I thought, well, this is a neat car, and it checks all the boxes. So I went looking for one, and found one a couple months later, and within about 6 months had one sitting in my shop. And it's been an interesting journey. It's a fun car.
It's a very unique looking car. I'm not sure I've ever seen one in person, actually. Looking at pictures of the car, you see all these different elements from the Ghia, but then like, what's going on in the back? And then,
right.
Wait a minute. And then what's the motor in that? Is it like the flat motor that came out of, say, the van or something like that?
It's a Type 3 1600 dual port. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So it kind of sits down behind. It's got those vents across the back. To me, the car, when you look at it, almost looks like a Bitsa car. And you described it well, kind of.
It is.
Bits and
it
pieces.
really is. One of my favorite things about it is when it sits in the shop and friends or clients or whoever stop by and they look at it and they go,
"Did you
wow,
make this?
What is that?" Yeah. And then I tell them, and then the next thing they say is their interpretation of what other cars it looks like.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's really neat because everybody's got a different take on it. Oh, I see Porsche here. I see various Italian cars or other cars that Giugiaro designed. And it's really neat because everybody's got a different take on what it looks like. Nobody says, oh, here it is. It's a car. It's its own thing. They go, well, it looks like this car. And another fun thing is I've got a lot of friends in the Volkswagen world, folks that are way more knowledgeable than me and have been doing it, their whole lives. Some of them have been into Volkswagens for 50 years. And they'll come in the shop when I first got it and they go, what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And I tell them and they go, I've never heard of that. I've never seen one. I've never heard of that. And I've been into Volkswagens for 50 years. And so it's kind of a funny thing, just that it's such a UFO to most people.
Yeah.
When I take it out, it gets
unicorn.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions. And I like that about it. It's really unique. So.
Yeah. Great cars and coffee car.
It is. Yeah.
Like, what is that? Everybody, how come you're not looking at my Ferrari over here? Well, because I've never seen one of those. I've seen a few Ferraris. I'm going to be your automotive psychologist here a little bit and crawl into your skull, Roman. If you were manifested as a vehicle, what would you be? But more importantly, why?
I had to think about this question a lot.
Good.
And if I have to pick one car, and I have one of these cars, so that must say something, but a Mercedes W123 diesel wagon, 300 TD. And it's a hard-working car. They're utilitarian. You can rely on them, but they can clean up pretty nice and be pretty classy. And not to mention that pretty recently here, gaining in value and pretty hip with the in crowd. So,
do you know J.G. Francis?
I know of his work and his cars, and we have some mutual friends. I don't know him personally, but I certainly know of Mercedes Motoring and the work that he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to his shop. He's been a guest on the show, and he's got some amazing cars. And got a local friend here who's got a bunch of his cars, mostly wagons, because my buddy is really into wagons. Those cars, they were workhorses back in the day, but they were kind of cool. A lot of moms drove those things.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize at the time how special they were because most were diesels. They were kind of slow and smoky. And I was like, what's with your mom's car? Why is it so loud? But now you get in those things and they're just beautiful. I mean, the craftsmanship, they're built like tanks. And you said you have one, right?
I have one. It's my
shop car?
Shop car.
Nice.
And I just love it. I'll make a confession here. When I worked for that first collector back in 1990, he had one. That was my shop car, my runaround car back then. And I hated it. I kind of liked how it looked, but the driving experience, of course I was a, relatively young kid driving around in Ferraris and Jags and
boring
so,
and slow.
The Mercedes was just slow and it stunk and I just didn't like it. Well, you grow and evolve and change. And I have a lot of friends in that Mercedes world. And I got to sort of looking at them again a number of years ago. And I thought, I always did like the way they look. And I got to drive a few friends' cars and finally pulled the trigger on one. I've actually had several now, but the one I bought a few years ago is the one that I still have. And it's just a great car. Like I said, built like a tank. You can fix anything, they're very serviceable. Boy, you can still go to Pick and Pull and find parts even. And, you have to be a little bit in the zone when you get in and drive one, I mean, mine keeps up with modern traffic just fine, but it's not fast off the line. And it's like a little bit like driving a Barca Lounger. But I just love it. The longer I have it, the more I love it. They're just fantastic cars. And I now know why they've caught on and why they're fetching good money on Bring a Trailer and other places. And it's funny, you see a lot of younger guys. I know a lot of guys in their 20s. They're getting into that era, young timer Mercedes cars. They're getting to be very popular and starting to fetch some money.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is there a great book you've read you'd like to share?
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
I almost mentioned that book earlier when you talked about getting into the Zen with the car. So, yeah.
Oh, I was on a kind of a car guy trip a number of years ago with my friend Brent Waldman, who I think was a guest on Cars. Yeah.
Yep.
And Brent and I actually met on that trip, and he's a sharp guy, and I think he could see that my mind never stops. And even though we were supposed to be having fun and tinkering on our friends' collection and just hanging out for an extended weekend, I was always kind of worried about work and talking about work. And he kind of pulled me aside and said, do you like to read? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, you should read this book. It really kind of is about enjoying the journey. And I think you could benefit from reading this. And so I took his advice, and a few months later, I picked it up and read it. And he was absolutely right. I mean, my brain is still going 1,000 miles an hour, and I still work in my brain while I'm sleeping. But that book has taught me to enjoy the ride and try to step back every once in a while and savor the moments. I'm always going to be 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I'm getting old enough and wise enough and to stop and take it in and kind of go, wow. That's what that book did for me. So tip of the hat to Brent for recognizing that in me within only a day or two of meeting me. So he's a great guy.
My son suggested that book for me, probably for the same reasons. And it is a great book, and it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. In fact, I had to reread the first 2 chapters. I'm like, what's going on here? This isn't like...
I think I did that too.
Yeah, like, what's going on? Yeah, you had to it takes you to different places. It's a great book, been recommended by many people. You listeners out there, it'd be a great way to start the new year, 2022, with that book if you've not read it. So I'm going to let you go on the ultimate drive before I let you go today here, Roman. I've got an open checkbook for you. I'm going to buy you any car. You can go on a ride with anybody, living or deceased, and you can be anywhere in this special vehicle with this special person. What does the ultimate ride today look like for you?
There's so many cars.
I know.
So many people.
I'll just pick one for this week.
I would say the car would be a Tatra T77.
Ooh.
And I'd be with Tatra's chief designer at the time, Hans Ledwinka. And, I don't know where we would drive necessarily. I hadn't thought that part out, but I would let him drive. Okay. Since those are notoriously ill-handling cars, unfortunately, as the Lane Motor Museum found out recently.
Oh, I heard about that.
With their T87 that got tipped over.
Yeah.
So I think I'd let Ledwinka drive, and I'd love to ask him about sort of being a designer in the golden age of the automobile. I mean, he was really active, between World Wars I and II, and came up with so many innovations, the rear flat-mounted air-cooled engine and the backbone chassis. And also, I'd love to ask him, what was it like to have Dr. Porsche steal your ideas, basically, and get all the credit to some degree?
Wow. That's an interesting car to pick. No one's ever picked that car. So you're very unique in that respects. And I look at that car, especially some versions of that car. There was a T77A. The front looks like the Bugatti tank, that Bugatti built. That very...
Oh, okay.
That they called the tank. I mean, it's got that nice rounded curve, and then of course the fin on the back. And I think the last time I saw one of those was on the lawn at Pebble.
Yeah,
you don't see too many of those cars around for
nice
sure.
Gathering Tatras at Pebble 5 or 6 years ago that Ken Gross put together. Yeah,
nice job. Very cool, very unique answer to that question. Well, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. Before I let you go, though, one little maybe inspirational thought to start the new year, words of wisdom.
Well, in the skateboarding world, there's kind of one simple slogan that always stuck with me. It's very true in the act of riding a skateboard, and it sort of transfers to the rest of life, which is fall down, get back up.
Yeah, get back on that horse.
In skateboarding, you're going to fall down, and you got to dust yourself off and get back up. And I think it's just sort of a good mantra for everything in business and relationships and life. I've kind of tried to live that way because I started my early life as a skateboarder, and you take a lot of spills, but you dust yourself off and get back up.
Absolutely. And take Roman's advice. If you're going to get on a skateboard, get a helmet and some pads.
That's right.
For sure.
That's good advice.
Yeah, for sure. Very wise advice. How do people learn more about Empire Vintage Autos?
Well, I am at empirevintageautos.com. That's my website. And I am at empire.vintage.autos on Instagram. And those are probably the two best places to find me. So
absolutely. I'll put links to those on Roman's show notes page here on the Cars Yeah website. Check him out. If you're up in the Monterey area, you can check him out there as well. And if you live up in that area, really, if you live anywhere, I'm sure some of the cars get shipped into you, right?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, there you go. So there's your source for caring for your vehicles. Roman, thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your story with me. What a nice way to start the new year with Roman Barnes, Empire Vintage Autos. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks so much, Mark. It's been a blast.
This was fun. Thank you. The most important lesson I've learned after interviewing nearly 2,000 people is that we are at our best when we help others. Cars Yeah is all about inspiring automotive enthusiasts and helping others to be successful. In 2022, my charities of choice are Tech Force Foundation and RPM Foundation. Both are groups of like-minded nonprofits working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. RPM was created to ensure that the specialized skills needed to care for classic automobiles, boats, and motorcycles continue to be passed down from generation to generation. They do this by supporting training for young people with a passion for restoration and setting them up with mentors who can share their valuable knowledge. Tech Force Foundation is dedicated to solving the technical shortage that threatens the transportation industry today by providing career development resources and increasing awareness and enthusiasm for the tech profession. Learn more about these groups at RPM Foundation and Tech Force Foundation today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.